Hello, Fredak here. Fred ACC, all one word. Alrighty, so it is Thursday, June the 12th. It's about 7 p.m. About 7 p.m. Alrighty, what do we got here? XRP is at about $2.20. Fredak has some notes so we don't forget things. First up, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. And as I've said many, many different times, beware of the scammers. The scammers are out there in force, and they're going to come out even more in force. They're after your money. What else can I tell you? That's how the scammers work. So, we've got XRP at $2.20, getting some fluctuating moves up and down. That's fantastic. I'm not moved by it at all. I'm going to sit tight and just wait to reel them on in. Why do I think that? Well, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. Fredak tries to bring things your way that you don't hear from all the other talking heads. Give me a moment. Reposition myself here to sit down. Alrighty, so let's go to the notes here. So far, what I see going on is very limited volume. If there was a lot of volume, large amounts of XRP trading, I would have a different opinion about things. But I see very, 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 very light volume. You look at the chart over the last, 10 years. Spike up, 2017. The volume spiked, but at that time, there was nowhere near as much supply out there as there is now. 2024, right after generational wealth that I posted on here at 52, 53, 51 cents. It surged over $3. Once again, huge volume spikes. It's the numbers. And the bugs are coming out. Alrighty, quit bugging me. Why do I come on here and post and put the date and the time? Well, I don't want to be accused of past posting anything. Also, I want my subscribers to have a clear picture of what I see is going on. It's not financial advice, just the ideas that are swirling around in Fredak's head. I try to step outside the box and look at things realistically from the outside. And I also try not to get caught up with the hopium. And I've said this numerous times on here. Among other things, knowledge is power. And I'm aware of the fact that if XRP or XYZ or any one of these other cryptos don't become the functionality use scenario for a revolutionized global monetary system, and I don't see what any of them are worth. But touching onto that area, I was kind of watching a little bit earlier today about Ethereum and about Bitcoin. I have my skepticisms about both of them. If you're in them, that's great. If you're making a fortune, that's great. I hope that you are. Me personally, I think that when the crowd sees that the king has no clothes, they might deflate a little bit. I also do believe strongly that XRP is the one that's laying down all the rails and the groundwork to be that global currency, the size of it, the behemoth of it. 100 billion of them out there. Each token could be broken up into 1 million drops. That's the kind of size that could handle the movements of the global financial systems, real estate, taxes, gift cards, this, that, money, purchasing, moving money. I want to send $1,200 to my cousin in Germany. I want to do this, I want to do that. No. Split second, cost is very minimal. Part of me thinks that's what's holding back the big money people, the big institutions. They don't want to give up the foothold they had on just somewhat printing money over the last 40, 50 years. Heck no, why would you? So they've been strong to fight it. But let's go to the notes here. Okay, so I hear this and that from all the talking heads. Okay, so do you think XRP, the Ripple company, is dotting its I's and crossing its T's? So you ask. I'm glad you asked that. So considering the problems that they had 6, 7, 8 years ago, with the lawsuits that are going on, with them being a security, you would have to think that they understand that they're maybe the hit target out there, or they're under the radar. So everything they're doing, they're definitely going to be going legal eagle on everything. More so than anything else out there. Why? Because they know they're on the radar. Alrighty, so Fence Post, Crypto Johnny, and all the other talking heads, Mr. Magoo, Crypto Magoo, whatever it all be, they all do not see the forest from the trees. They don't see it all. I'd like to think that FredAct does. Maybe I'm caught in the hopium. I don't know. Bought a big chunk of this at 37 cents. So I'm sitting okay on it. If and when it runs, and I think when it runs, I'm going to be Schaefer City. For those of you who remember Schaefer, that's the beer. All right, what do we got here? The marketplace is huge. When something takes hold with functionality, it is almost endless. The size of the potential use case scenario for XRP, XYZ, whatever it might evolve to, is so huge. It's beyond the scope of what I can explain to you out there, but just think about it. There's so much stuff out there. Hello! The vastness of the potential out there is almost unlimited. Alrighty, here's another thing to think about, something from outside the box. Let's just say one of the competitors at a certain point, that probably should have happened already. One of the competitors should have stepped in and said, we've got to partner up with this XRP. XRP is the one. Give me a moment. Someone's calling my attention over here. I'm actually moving. Okay, give me a moment. How are we doing? Okay, good to go. Welcome. So the way that I look at it, let me get back to my notes. So the way that FredAct looks at it all, and this is an interesting aspect of it all, I think. And by all means, any comments you have, leave them down below. I always enjoy hearing them. Why haven't companies jumped on board with Ripple? They should have. I think we've already passed the point of no return. At this point here, it's similar to Amazon. I think it was 2017. They bought into Whole Foods. So they're not a food business company, but they bought out Whole Foods, I think for $13 billion. But of course, I always say, check out FredAct. Make sure that he's on top of what he's talking about. Check out everybody. You should never listen to anybody and just take it for what it is and go with it. Not when it comes to your money. So, 2017, I think it was, Amazon buys Whole Foods. And sure, they were expanding their wealth. Not a bad thing to do, because you start to displace what you have. A good analogy for that is going to be something called Procter & Gamble. P&G. They have Colgate-Palmolive, they have toothpaste, they have this, hand wash, liquid detergent. They're insulated. If one of their products is not selling, they have hundreds of other products. So they're well spread out. Well, Amazon decided, let's start spreading out a little bit. Also, they can use the Whole Foods bricks and mortars to their advantage for returns. And that's what they do. It's a smart move. They're getting a foothold in on the bricks and mortar. Okay, Ripple is doing the same things. They stepped out, they branched out, spent some of the paper money that they have, and they picked up Hidden Road brokerage firm. Well, what does that mean? That means, hello, Hidden Road is giving them the many different avenues to be able to do the business that they foresee themselves doing. And I personally think the time has already come and gone for any of the major institutions out there to say, you know what, before they get too big, Let's go with a blank check and absorb this Ripple company. We'll start doing what they're going to do. Others out there are probably thinking about other institutions, about starting their own type of token or coin, but the cost becomes exorbitant. It'll be so much easier to just hook up with Ripple and XRP. Not easier, cost effective. That's what it all comes down to, is the dollars and the cents. Something worth thinking about. I have posted a lot of stuff on here to try to keep all of you who subscribe or are in the XRPs to stay the course. I'm either going to look like a fool down the road or a wealthy fool. One of those two. Either a poor fool or a wealthy fool. Only time will tell. And I've said on here many, many different times, besides knowledge is power, is that you're not going to become a multi-millionaire overnight unless you buy the Powerball lottery ticket, scratch off the numbers, and by the next day it's like, wow, I just hit for $180 million. Otherwise, you're going to have to sit tight on XRP. From what I looked at with Ethereum and for Bitcoin, I kind of don't get it. If somebody does, please put something down below. And I have to reach out to somebody who did post something for me to reach out to them, and I will do that. A lot of different things to think about. I try to share those things with you guys out there. May all your days be winning ones. I thank you all for being here. Subscribe, hit the likes button, don't likes button, smash the likes button. Do whatever you gotta do. Hopefully I covered all the notes. Didn't have much for today, but